Namaste and good morning, evening, whatever it is for you. I'm just feeling a little talkative, so I thought I'd just share whatever's going on in my head. Um, I was just speaking with a close friend of mine about this very odd experience I have of life. And so my purpose for sharing it isn't so much, matter of fact, it isn't, hey, good for you or any form of, it's not for me. I'm sharing it so that maybe something about it, you can get something from this story I'm about to tell, and use it in your own life that benefits you. And that's anyway. So I have lived a very unusual life, as if you've seen any of my videos, so you've heard that before. And I am constantly traveling. I travel a great deal, and people flow in and out of my life, and there's very few eddies, very few long term friends. My mother and my brother are the only two people on the planet who have, well, I have some cousins and aunts that knew me when I was little, but I've had very little contact with through life, and most of my cousins I haven't had any contact with outside of childhood. And my mother is the only person on the planet that has known me throughout my life and who has been in enough communication that I can say she kind of has a pretty good sense of who I am. With everybody else, my longest running friend right now is 20 a friend of 20 years. And there are a couple of people I've known longer, but we're not in that much communication. And my friend of 20 years, we speak a couple of times a year when I'm away from her town. And although we interact quite a bit when I am in town. So to me, there's been no there's been no real stability of physical space. I have no items of clothing or sentimental things from, my childhood. I think the oldest thing that I have is a something from 1996. Uh, I don't think I have anything. Well, I have a picture up here from earlier than that, but you know, it, I haven't carried it all that time. I found it. Mom was going to throw a bunch of stuff away or something, and I found it then. But anyway, um, because of this lack of physical familiarity, physical stability, that's the word. Um, I have come to perceive myself as a guest of everywhere and everything and everyone. I strive as best I can to be a gracious guest. And so a friend of mine that I was speaking to this evening was explaining his views on political awareness. Being aware of what's going on in the nation. We have a obligation to that because we're a citizen of the country. And I asked him um, what what was what how much time should one devote towards fulfilling that obligation of being a citizen of the country and knowing what was going on, because I don't pay much attention to the news anymore. Um, it's distressing, and one might say that I'm burying my head in the sand, but there's nothing at all I can do about anything that's going on. I'm not an activist, so I'm not going to start a parade or a protest. not intentionally, but I go with the flow. So if the flow leads me to to where I'm in that position, I'm perfectly fine with. I keep track of the headlines, and check it every couple of days, and discuss it a little bit on Facebook, and that's about it. But if circumstances put me in that position where I'm leading a protest, well, that wouldn't be the weirdest thing I've ever done. Um, I'm cool with it, whatever. And so, because I've started out from nothing but the clothes on my back, in one case, no clothes, um, no, wow, I didn't even include that one in my tally. Huh. One could say I started out 9 times with nothing, but I was thinking more along the lines of being living on my own. So 8 times I've started out from nothing. When I first ran away from home, I had nothing but the clothes on my back, and I was robbed 7 times, all the way down to absolutely nothing. In one case, the guy took my tennis shoes. And the so I have no real attachment to stuff. I presently have an RV and a nice motorcycle and a trailer I have a Dodge Caravan parked at my friend's house up in Bellingham, and that's it. That's it. That's the whole shebang right there. And if all of this was to burn up or get stolen or whatever, yeah, okay. So nothing new here. It's no biggie. This is all comfortable and all that jazz, even though it's messy, but it's it's interesting because as I'm driving any place I go, I sit in this chair and I look out this window beside me. It's the only chair in the house. And I look out this window and the scenery out there changes from time to time. I'll sit in this. Everything else within my visual line of sight is exactly the same, but the scenery out there changes. And I open the door onto a whole new vista fairly frequently. And this has been going on and 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 on. And so I'm a guest everywhere. I'm nobody in particular. I mean, I'm nothing special. I'm just me. And the thing is I know who me is, and I like me. I'm a pretty good guy to hang out with, so I hang out with me a lot. And but a good or a gracious guest doesn't lie unnecessarily, doesn't take that which is not given or use that which is not offered, or they don't get angry and yell at people, their host. And if you're in my face in any way, shape, or form, then that means you're my guest and I'm your guest. So I'm going to strive to be gracious. I recognize that I can't always do that, but most of the time I think I pull it off fairly well. And, I'm certainly not going to kill my host. Heck no. And I'm not going to lust after, that kind of stuff. Well, actually, I just took a vow of celibacy, so at least for a little while. I got 3 months, but it's been 6 years. TMI, don't tell. Okay, anyway, so the that's not something a gracious guest would do either, And I'm a gracious guest to the nation, but I'm not I don't perceive myself as being really a citizen. And this is kind of, I'm not using the right term, so don't get too freaked out by it. Or do. I don't care. It's your life. You do what you want. But it's not, I don't hold being an American as my identity my highest identity. That's not my highest identity. Um, if I'm going to talk on the physical plane, I am a human being on a round planet called Earth. And it's called Earth because we all agreed, we live in this great big house. We're all brothers and sisters. Some of my brothers and sisters decided to put up this wall or whatever and say, hey, the people over there aren't people, but these people are people, so you can like them, I don't take that from my own mom. She can't tell me that kind of crap. I'm living my own life. Do whatever the hell you want, but I'm living my life, And so it doesn't matter who stands before me or what they've done in their past or anything like that. At least not that I can figure. If they're I'm going to be kind to them. And if they're not kind to me, then I'll recognize their pain and I'll recognize how they got there. And hopefully I'll be able to continue to be a gracious guest until they leave. And a gracious guest leaves their host or hostess feeling uplifted. I don't complain very much, I don't think, because complaining is frowned upon. And I wrote that the other day, but I don't know where it came from. But I thought it was so cool. I wrote it, and then in parentheses I wrote, me. Dang, that was good. I ought to write that down. Oh, wait, I did. But anyway, so I also recognize that for me personally, because of this very odd experience of life I've had, and I don't know how odd it is in reality because I haven't talked to too many people about it, but I don't know anybody, or I know very few people who have had this much traveling, this much uprootedness over a long period of time while paying attention to what's going on inside. So actually I want to get this in here too. Remember, I said I was going to ramble, so deal with it. My number one spiritual practice throughout my entire life, and what has led me to this experience of heaven on earth, regardless of what's happening. I mean, it really doesn't matter what's happening, including if I should get angry or something, because I don't get angry very often. And if I do, well, that's something that circumstances hasn't rectified yet. But I do know that this personality strives to do no harm. And doing harm actually hurts me, and it hurts me a lot. So I strive not to do that. Anyway, so what has got me to this place? Quick history. I was abused a lot as a kid. We moved a lot, several times when I was a kid. I ran away from home early. Was homeless for quite some time, and nothing stayed the same, except for my mom. Well, even she hasn't stayed the same, but you get what I get. Anyway, so I have always paid attention to my breathing. Rephrase. I have always strived to pay attention. Rephrase. I have often strived to pay attention to the sensations of my breathing. I'll stick with that one. That one will work. One of my first jobs on the streets was being a live mannequin. And that's a 5-way meditation. People would ask me, how do you do that? How do you stand there for 2 hours without blinking or moving or breathing or anything? And I'd say, well, I went to India and I learned a bit of meditation. Although back then I spoke with a British accent and I'd say, I went to India before I came here, and took a bit of meditation. That's what it is. I had no clue that I was actually telling the truth as far as the meditation was concerned. Anyway, so it's a 5-way meditation, because in order to be a good live mannequin, you have to be aware that you have to pay attention that you're not swaying back and forth like this, or back, any direction. You can't be swaying, because then people will know that you're not real. You can't blink or move your eyes. So you got to constantly be aware of that and monitor that. You have to eliminate as much of the visible signs of breathing as you possibly can. Meaning to say, you got to be aware of your nose, because you know how sometimes the nostrils flare? Well, to be a good live mannequin, you got to stop that from happening. You got to counter that. You got to be aware of it. You got to be aware of the motion of the chest and the belly. And this is a constant awareness. You have to remain constant of that, or else if you lose track, then you're going to start breathing in a normal manner, and people will know you're fake, and you'll lose tips and all that good stuff. Not to mention, back then I had quite a bit of pride in my ability to do that. And I also had to be aware of my hands, because they're just hanging out there in space. They're not holding anything, and they're maintaining a constant position. So I have to make sure that it's not shaking or wobbling or anything like that. And then I also had to be aware of my hat, because it's down there with my money in it, and I need that money to survive. So that's a 5-way meditation. So I've been doing that kind of stuff all my life. A dance teacher, constant inside the body. Lots of lung issues, constant awareness of breath. And I found that you have a choice. You can either experience a trauma, or you can be aware of your breathing, the sensations of your breathing. One or the other, you can't do them both. And you get to actually choose which one you're going to do. Now, the thing is this is a really cool thing, is you get to make this choice while you're clear-headed and not in a trauma. And because you want to practice it when you don't need it. Don't worry, it's very pleasurable to be aware of your breath and to remain aware of your breathing. And you can become, it can develop over a period of time where you are constantly, every moment that you're conscious, you will be aware of your breathing. If I wake up in the middle of the night to pee, I'm first aware that I'm breathing. Then I do my thing, and then I lay back in bed and I watch my breathing, and I pay attention to my breathing, the sensations, until I'm not conscious anymore. I'm going in this soon. It's getting close to 20 minutes. When people ask me my name, I have found myself saying, I'm nobody, but Kai gets my attention. And I have that deep experience inside that I'm nobody. Nobody in particular. There's nobody home here. Some of you might say, I can tell that by what you're saying, but there's still an ego in play. But the way that I envision ego, define it now, at least in this instance, is ego is an excessive to the degree that you are consciously remembering the past, or holding the past, carrying it with you, and that you are anticipating some future thingamagabi, or thinking about some other thingamagabi that's happening now somewhere else on the planet that you can do nothing about. To the degree that that activity is going on in the mind, and not paying attention to the present moment, which is the only thing that we can be sure of, is that this, whatever's in the range of our senses, is the only thing, that's the only thing that we got going for us, Everything else, if we weren't in the room, we don't know for an absolute fact that that's what happened. We heard it from somebody. It may have been the person who did it, in which case they're biased to make themselves look good, or the person it was done to, or a witness. In all cases, we're hearing it, but we weren't there. So we can't know for absolute certain that we know what happened. And then again, we don't know the motivations behind what happened. We have to guess. And I wouldn't trust a surgeon who was cutting on me if they knew just that much about medicine. No. No, they better be in the room if they're going to be cutting on me. And anyway, I don't know how I got onto that bit of a subject. That's just something that showed up this evening. So I'm still trying to figure out actually, I'm not trying to figure it out, really. I'm paying attention to how it's working its way into the various conversational experiences I'm having. My suggestion to you, if I could leave one teaching for my grandkids, and in all honesty, I see every kid as my grandkids. I'm a balloon twister and a street performer, and I work with the kids all the time. And, well, relativistic. You know what I'm saying. Anyway, if I could leave one piece of advice that they would listen to, it would be, more than anything else in your life, give priority to becoming aware of your breathing, the sensations of breathing. Sensations of breathing is like inside the nostrils and the sinus cavities. Can you be aware of the flow of air going in and out? What does that feel like within the sinus cavities? Be it here at the end of the nose. Can you feel that when you breathe out, it's warmer than when you breathe in because it's been warmed up by your body? Unless, of course, you're in really, really hot weather, I guess, then it would be the other way around. Can you feel it in your neck? Can you feel it in your chest? As you're breathing in and out. Well, the air is going over things that create sensation, nerves or whatever that create sensation. Can you be aware of that sensation? And to the degree that you can be aware of that sensation, the less you are going to be thinking about things that happened in the past or anticipating things that are happening in the future or worried about things that are happening elsewhere on the planet that you can do nothing about. And I can speak from experience that it leads you into the kingdom of heaven, a literal experiential one here on the planet. Now, I don't know if that would be true if I was in Gaza or Ukraine or any of the other points of conflict in the world, but I do know that at my present moment and for the last little bit of time, that's what the experience is. And it came about because I paid attention to my breathing. So if I highly, highly recommend, advise, most strongly, adopt the practice of cultivating the experience of being continually aware of the sensation of your breath. The results, the positive results, can be felt almost immediately. And it only gets better from there. All right. So I'm going to see if YouTube will post this. I wonder if anybody's going to listen all the way through, but if you do, good for you. And if they do this on YouTube, so as you can tell by the fact that I have no entrance into any of my videos yet, I don't really push this stuff. But like, subscribe, share, talk about it. Most importantly, if you can find something that you can use in your own life, well, that would be cool, wouldn't it? Till next time, I hope the lyrics of Jason Mraz's song Have It All is your experience.